Okay, today I'm in Hertfordshire with a face that might be familiar to people that use Twitter. Stephen Power, also known as the racing blogger. Hello, Stephen. Thanks very much for agreeing to talk to me. The tables are turned. You've been interviewed here. Right, we're going to go straight into this question.
Straight into it.
Straight in. Are you an innocent who bounces about like a Labrador with the best and most genuine of intentions for all who loves racing, sees the best in people, loves life and wants to share it with your followers? Or are you a calculated, attention-seeking opportunist who's pounced upon racing because you are so different to everybody else and it's an ideal place for you to stand out? A small fish, a big fish in a small pond, in an area where you can push yourself and your honed profile forward, all for your own benefit, or bit of the above.
That's a very interesting question to get started, Simon. Hello to all the viewers, great to be here. We're currently sipping on some of Colombia's finest coffee beans, so I've just made Simon a cup of that. Definitely A. I mean, look, if I was looking for a huge platform, Simon, I would have went into being a football vlogger. It's the biggest sport in the world with the biggest audience in the world. Horse racing is a very small niche sport, and it's a sport you either love or you really know nothing about. It's a sport that you need to know how to study form, and it's a very peculiar little sport. A Labrador, I prefer a bit of a husky myself, a bit more flamboyant, but definitely A, Simon.
Right, you're evidently passionate about racing then, so it's A. But you're on record as having been a fan since you were about 14. Can you tell us a catalyst moment that hooked you?
Yeah, I thought we'd just go back a little bit before that. Born in Ireland, Tipperary, lived there till I was 4.5, at which stage my mum moved me over to North London. My grandmother, Mary Power, she followed us over there because she obviously wanted to see her grandchild grow up. I was very close to my my late grandmother, who died 4 years ago, and it was at the age of 14 I was sitting on her floor in her house. She had the racing on every Saturday. I'd be at my grand's 4 or 5 days a week when my mother was working, and I remember her one day suddenly cheering for a horse. And my grand's the kind of lady who could watch a race with her arms folded and not flinch. She could have a ton on a 9-1 shot and you wouldn't know whether she'd won or lost. But this time she started cheering, "Go on, go on, go on!" And I looked up, I was playing with my Ninja Turtles at the time, and I was like, "Gran, what's happening? What's happening?" And she went, "I've had a big win. Let's go to the bookies." So she took me into the old William Hill in the days, and they had those little strings as you walked in, and I walked in, there was all these old men in there, smoke everywhere, my eyes started to water, and the bookie started counting out all this money. And I remember looking at the money thinking, Jesus Christ, she'd won 2 grand. So we came home, she gave me 40 quid, which back in, what would that have been, 1995, 96, was a fair cop of money. And from that moment there, I was hooked. I started picking up the local trade papers, looking at form, learning from my gran. And at that stage, she saw that I loved horse racing straight away. She started taking me racing, and I've been hooked ever since, really. It's a majestic sport that has a unique appeal that when it captures you, it's got you for life.
So when did you decide to become this alter ego of the racing blogger?
Yeah, it's a funny one, really, because obviously being born in Clonmel, Tipperary, I grew up on a farm until the age of 4.5. I went back to Tipperary for 3 months of the year for my school holidays. So I was there 3 months of the year every year. Up until the age of 16, I had some of the greatest times of my life running around with Mouse Morris's kids, Jamie and the late Tiffer, who sadly died in Argentina. Get yourself a carbon monoxide tester, very important. And I was surrounded by animals. My family over there were involved with show jumpers, which never really captured me to that extent. But the racing blogger came about sadly after my gran died. My gran was my best friend, and she was somebody who I was very, very close to. I was really a granny's boy. I'd always go racing with my gran. It was just me and my gran the majority of the time. We'd always call each other on the phone. I'd take her out for coffee and cake. We'd discuss form. So when my gran died a few years ago, I lost my best friend. I lost my racing ally, and I lost the person who took me racing. So I had no one to go with anymore. Racing isn't really something you do on your own, or at least I wasn't used to. So after my gran died, I didn't go racing for quite a long time, and it was about 1.5 years. And I saw an advert that popped up on my laptop. It was Kempton, and it said, "Come racing." It was either a Monday or Tuesday, a small jumps card. I'm a huge jumps fan, as everyone knows. It said, "Have a steak in the restaurant and get admission and a race card for 20 squid. So I hopped on the train to Kempton on my own, quite nervous, quite excited. It was the first time I'd been racing since my gran had died. I got a race card, I'm in the restaurant, and I'm flicking through the card, and it said, "Join us on Twitter." I'd never heard of Twitter, believe it or not. I was huge on Instagram, big on Facebook. So I joined Twitter and it said, call yourself a name, and bang, racing blogger came straight to mind because of my past history working within nutrition, being a vlogger and a blogger. I started filming myself in the restaurant, eating the steak, saying, hi everyone, it's the racing blogger here, and I fancy this horse in the next race. Fast forwards 2.5 years, here we are. It's been a whirlwind of a journey, and that's how the blogger started, at a cold Kempton on a Monday, just talking to nobody because he had no followers.
Right, a lot of your initial appeal, and what I really liked about you when I first saw you, was your complete confidence, just walking up to these big names in the game that other people just fawn to and ask them for a selfie interview. They'd be so shocked, they'd just do it. Is that self-confidence of yours a natural gift, or is it something that you have to really work on? Do you have to steel yourself up to do it?
There are certain people who make you a little bit more nervous than other people, granted. I remember at one stage I tried to interview Alan King, who's the only man to ever turn me down. He told me politely to go away. But the majority of the time, you see, Simon, I see people as equals in life. I see John Gosden, I see Mark Johnston, I see a kid from a super millionaire family, Alex Ferguson or Jose Mourinho, whoever it is, I see them as my equal in life. I don't see people above me and I don't see people below me. I'm not intimidated to talk to anyone from any walk of life. I've worked with some wealthy clients, I've worked with some not so wealthy clients, I've worked with people who work in huge positions in life, and when I approach somebody, I'm approaching them as a human being, as we all are, and I don't really feel that intimidated. I mean, going up to John Gosden and Mark Johnston and Nicky Henderson with a selfie stick and talking to them on the spot, producing my own content and them agreeing, is a huge, huge thing, and them wanting to do it, because nobody really turns me down. So you do get nerves, but it's something that I find a huge buzz. I get a lot of adrenaline from doing, and I love doing it.
Right, your initial pitch, also I remember when I first became aware of you, was that you wanted to be on ITV. You were saying in a year's time, whatever, you were going to get a job on ITV. Is that still an ambition, or has your own career path taken over now?
A lot's happened in the last 2 years. Admittedly, it's been a whirlwind. It's been very fast. It's been very furious. Look, you know, whether it's the BBC, it's Channel 4 Racing that we used to have, or ITV, who currently hold the rights to mainstream racing. Look, they've got the platform to showcase racing to the biggest audience in the world. I think they were hitting 1 million viewers recently for some of their shows. Would I like to be a part of ITV Racing, showing my passion to a new audience, to younger people, and encourage them to come racing? Absolutely. I mean, I believe that I can showcase this sport in a light that many others can't, hence the reason I built up such a strong following in a short period of time. And ITV would be the ideal platform to do that. I think they're doing a great job. I actually had 40 quid on with Paddy Power to be working on ITV. Within a year, it's 66 to 1 or 50 to 1. That didn't work out, but I never actually applied, so it was a bit of a mug bet. Hashtag mug bet. Bandits, they absolutely done me. But I printed out the betting slip just for the crack. But yeah, look, ITV would be an amazing opportunity. I know I could do a great job there. The interviews I performed have been produced, edited by myself on my own, and I believe I've put some marvellous content into Twitter in 2 years. So absolutely, absolutely.
So your rise from an unknown to a racing celebrity was pretty meteoric, with a full page in the national trade paper, the Racing Post, of course, a real springboard. Even though it was obviously determination that got you there, did you anticipate such a rapid ascendance?
Look, whenever you start something in life, you don't really know where it's going to go. But like any business or any project, you put your heart and soul into it. You try to utilize PR, you try to utilize marketing, you try to be smart and savvy with what you're doing. But most importantly, what you do is you give it everything. And the platform I've used, Twitter, for the Racing Blogger, at Racing Blogger, is something I've dedicated a hell of a lot of energy and a hell of a lot of time. And that's transpired to being successful, however you determine success. But I never thought, you know, I'd be on the centre pages of the Racing Post on a Sunday. I never really saw myself interviewing John Gosden or Mark Johnston or Jessica Harrington or Nicky Henderson. It just happened. But like with any great journey in life, you don't know where it's going to go. But the part of any great journey is to never stop or never give up. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep ploughing away. And you've got to keep on creating your own opportunities, because opportunities don't come easy in life. I'm from a working class Irish family. Things were very tough when we moved to North London. There was a huge, racial divide towards the Irish back in those days. Money was very tight, very tough, and we had it very tough growing up. So I'm not afraid of hard work. You know, I went back to Ireland every year as a kid. We used to do the fields, get all the hay done. I had to muck out with the chickens and the horses, and there's a lot of hard graft. And I think if you put hard graft into things, you're ultimately going to be successful, even though you will get shat on, you will get knocked back, but you've got to be strong enough to keep on going when the times get hard. And eventually you'll see a ray of sunlight, and that's when your time to shine is.
Right, good you mention that, 'cause you've already ascertained that you're a big bouncy Labrador. Some people don't like big bouncy Labradors, do they?
They don't, no.
Were you prepared for the backlash that you got? From some quarters, I should say. Not everybody, but from some quarters.
For being in the Racing Post.
Well, just for being you.
For being me? No, there are some very strange people on social media. But I must say, before I start with the negative, let's start with the positive. I've met some terrific people in the sport of horse racing. And everyone who I've met who's been terrific has been on a race course. People who actually go racing, spend their time going racing, spend money going racing. Racing fans just like me. I'm no different to your average racing fan. I just transpire that on this little phone here. Some of the comments from trolls, there's a thing in life called banter. There's funny banter, there's banter where you push it to a certain extent, you know, laddish banter. But then there's just being a damn right cunt. There are a lot of people whose lives haven't gone the way they've wanted them to go, and they take to social media in a negative spirit because they're crushed, and they just seek to devour and crush other people. And it's a sad state of affairs. I've no pity for these people, but I do have pity for the people who aren't strong enough to deal with these trolls, because there are a lot of young people out there who might go on Twitter, do a video tipping a horse, and they get a hell of a lot of abuse. And they do it because they're passionate about the sport. The trolls go after them and they never return because you've crushed them. I hold you responsible for that. I also hold trolls responsible for young girls and boys who commit suicide for bullying. I think it's disgusting. I think Twitter needs to police trolls very seriously. It's a criminal offence, and I have no time for people in general around me in life. My friends, the people I have close to me, are all quite uplifting, positive people, and I think some of the words that come out of people's mouths in general on social media is frightening. But in general, people are suffering in life, and they transpire that on social media. I mean, the highlight was being in the Racing Post. Some of the comments about, who the fuck is this guy? What right does he have to be in the Racing Post? You know, at that stage, I think I'd already produced about 300 videos. I'd put over 20,000 tweets on social media. I'd worked my arse off. I'd produced content that people loved, interviewing Nicky, Joe, Colin Tizard. You know, I travelled to race courses on a Monday, on a Tuesday. I vlogged it, I blogged it. On Twitter, not an official blog. Come after me. But some people just lose their marbles. And hey, I'll tell you what, when that Racing Post piece came out and people went batty, they went mental, I sat behind the laptop and just smiled and said, hey kid, you're winning. They're losing because they're showing their true colours.